Hello, welcome to our special CanBeWell webinar with Jerry Whittaker, the Education Chair of the Atlantic Therapeutic Touch Network, a partner organization of CanBeWell. I'm your host today, Natasha Polomsky, the current treasurer of CanBeWell. And before we begin, let's open with a land acknowledgement and introduction of who is here today. I would like to begin by acknowledging the indigenous people of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, let us take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to educate our own understanding of local indigenous people and their cultures. Can you please share your name, the indigenous land you reside upon, and how many generations of your family has been present on these lands in the chat? And I'm going to start by speaking it out loud. So my example is Natasha Maki and Maliset people of Unamaki, or Walkerville, Cape Breton Island, and I'm the first generation in Canada. I'm not Canadian, I'm just a resident. While we wait for everybody else to do this, I would like to ask our guest today, Cherry, to guide us through a little balance before we dive into the whole talk about CanBeWell, yes, ATTN and CanBeWell.
Okay. And all right. And I was on Cree Nation land when I lived in Alberta many years ago. All right. So to open, let's begin with a centering and a grounding. Every Therapeutic Touch TT session begins with a centering and a grounding. Before we begin it, I would like you to take an internal journey. Key into yourself, inside and out. Find the places where you feel comfortable with yourself, where your body feels excellent. And then key into yourself and find the pieces in your body that feel not quite excellent. Do you have tension or pain? Distress in any part of your body? Name those pieces to yourself the way you named the places where you felt good about yourself, or your body feels good. Now, take an inner scan of your emotional, mental being. How are you doing emotionally? Are you relaxed and happy? Do you have some tensions floating around you? Take a deep breath into your belly. And before you release it, take another deep breath on top of it. And then gently let it out through your mouth. Put your hands on your knees. Connect yourself to your feet and into the ground, sensing how your feet are situated on the ground. Now shift your consciousness back to your eyes. Come back into the room and give a general statement about how you felt. And then we're going to do a centering, and we will connect the two together and see how the changes are there. All right. Any feedback? Heather?
I'm so relaxed tonight. Hard to move the needle. I had a massage today and did TT on myself during the massage, so I'm feeling pretty good tonight.
That feels like you're cheating, girl.
I know.
It feels
Got a
so
2 for
good.
1.
I agree. Okay, Natasha.
Chair is a problem, so I gotta wiggle, which created a disconnect with the foot. So that's really interesting.
Okay, excellent. And Michelle.
It was just really nice to go deeper and deeper into the breath, and my bicep showed up, my right bicep. So not sure what's going on there, but that's interesting. We'll see at the end of the night what that means.
All right. So I've just begun the journey with you. What is neat about all of us who do all the different modalities of energy work is that they all work. They all have something to offer. And what's so interesting is we all use the energy differently. That's not what I'm here to talk about tonight, but it's certainly one of the things that I'm interested in and would like to go down that rabbit hole.
And maybe I can take you a step back, Cherry, and have you introduce yourself first and foremost.
Good idea.
That would be
My
nice.
name is Cherry Whitaker.
Yes, our intention for today is to provide a platform for our partner organizations to be highlighted within our membership. And as avid members of CanBeWell, we all play a vital role in developing and sharing the power of courses, publications, tools, and techniques that our partner organizations provide to Canadians and beyond. And I can say, from having taken training with Jerry before I came to CanBeWell, having the disciplines come together is quite nice because they enhance each other. So while we begin this process now, by introducing Cherry Whitaker, and I give a little bit more information about Cherry. Cherry has been in the role of education chair for many, many, many years, I'd say, with the Atlantic Therapeutic Touch Network, as well as on the education committee for the Canadian Association. Cherry has been to Pumpkin Hollow on several occasions to work with others in the global TT community, including both Dora, Kunz, and Krieger, the founders of ATTN, or of Therapeutic Touch, I should say, not ATTN. And I will leave their background for Cherry to expand upon. And Cherry has also been active in bringing forward an in-depth version of TT that deepens the experience of consciousness transformation. Her work has also expanded the way that the facilitator recognizes their work and records their perceptions on the experience, as well as the experience of the participant. Cherry's forward thinking has been instrumental in keeping ATTN as a part of CanBeWell for these past 4 years, along with the chair of ATTN, Judy Donovan-Vitti, and the hardworking board. Cherry, thank you for your dedication and service to the BioEnergetic Wellness globally, as well as your dedication to be present as a partner organization with CanBeWell that continues to build and develop programming for our professionals in the wellness industry to learn and grow with. So welcome, Cherry.
Thanks, Natasha. I'm sorry. Once you ask me to speak, I speak. I'm glad you put the brakes on.
Do you want to add on some part on your background in that area right now, or?
Sure, just quickly, I started Therapeutic Touch January 28th, 1997. I remember that day because it changed my whole life. Learning how to do TT helped me to do a flip in my ability to perceive, to conceive of the world, and to understand that you didn't have to be a doctor or a nurse to help. You really could help by working with the energy around the people, around another person. And that was absolute joy for me. I have a disease, and it's endemic, and it's persistent. And that disease is curiosity. And that curiosity didn't allow me just to stay with what I had learned in the beginning, but it took me everywhere. They were doing courses across Canada and the United States, and now with Zoom internationally as well. I've had the pleasure of working in the Montana Dialogues, a TT group that's set up once a year. You have to apply, and 40 people from around the world are asked to apply, and then you're accepted or not for the year. So I've been lucky enough for the last 6 years, I guess, to be part of those dialogues that take place for 6 days straight. And what I learned is absolutely phenomenal, because there's so many people that are much more educated than I. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak, because it allows me to review the joys of what we all are built upon. All right. Is that enough, Natasha? Do I have permission
That's
to
more
move
than
on?
enough. And I can attest to your curiosity, because that was what got me hooked in my training with you at that time. So yes. So I trained with Cherry in 2009, 2008, 2009, about that time. So long time ago. Can you share a bit about your training background?
My training background. Well, first of
Yeah.
all, I have a Bachelor of Education and a Master's, no, Bachelor of Arts and a Master's of Education. And then I spent 35 years in the school system. And my job was not with the academically brilliant students most of the time. I had the whole range. I had children who could learn to spell their first name, but even at 16, did not know how to spell their last name. And I had children who did not want to be in school, and they grew up in very difficult circumstances. And I also had children who were very bright, and I taught everything from primary to grade 12. So my background in working with people began with children. And then I took karate, and within 2 years, I was a teacher of karate as well. So I've been working as a teacher. I think that's probably my calling in life for most of my life. My training is with my feet on the ground mostly, because like Natasha with her singing bowls, like Michelle with, the kinesiology, we landed in places where people did not have an understanding of what those modalities could do. And so we all had training by running in the spot, trying to figure out how to approach. And it meant that our backgrounds become very deeply embedded, and we truly understand much really well, because we had to figure out how to spread that word. Is that enough, Natasha?
Absolutely. What kind of people do you work with?
Now work with whoever is interested in energy. And I was in the bank this morning, and the bank assistant manager had found the only patch of ice left in Glasgow, and happened to fall and hurt her knee badly. And so when I'm in her office asking her questions, I'm off working on her knee, and I know she's going to become a student. So we work with all walks of life. One of the people that I truly adore is a young man who's been highly addicted to many substances and has his life in pretty well under control at the moment. And he has been practicing in my practice group before he left for Toronto. So we work with anybody who presents. I've taught Therapeutic Touch, as Natasha and Michelle have, to children, and to people who are in the hospital dying, so that they can help themselves. It's one of the joys that it's so simple to do.
So
Anybody can become it. a
That's
student.
actually leading into the next question. The approach that Therapeutic Touch offers for self-care and for clients. What would you
And
say
that's
is?
actually the most critical part of Therapeutic Touch is the self-care. And simply by teaching people the centering and grounding, which we didn't finish as we were coming in, but which we started, and then teaching them that compassion is critical with whatever they do. Those three components create self-care just by being and doing them. I'm astonished at the change in myself. I never felt compassionate. I went through life and did what I felt was right. And my principal said, I don't know how you're so compassionate with some of those kids. And I just would say, I'm not. I just sort of do what's right. And I actually felt compassion about 2 years after I left teaching. And when I understood what it felt like, it changed my whole approach to, again, all kinds of aspects in my life. I don't always apply it, and I don't apply it to myself. I think we're all hardest on ourselves. But those three elements are the basis for self-care. And then when you add the energy to it, it's a bonus.
What would you say is the biggest benefit for a client when you do Therapeutic Touch for somebody else?
I think because at the beginning, it takes them into places they have never been before. It helps them to align their state of consciousness throughout their whole being. So the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual are all worked with in Therapeutic Touch at the same time. And so the biggest benefit is connecting them to themselves in ways that often they have never experienced. And then that leads them into the ability to invoke self-healing.
Have you ever experienced like running the practice group here in Port Hawkesbury? I know that a lot of our people come in, and one of the biggest factor in the beginning is that there is somebody taking care of you, which is the compassion factor. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I find that's one of the biggest wins that we have in Therapeutic Touch is that care factor that's so gentle, right?
Right. And so without that, listening, because it's really hearing, it's witnessing and hearing what the other person is doing. That gets all put together. And so that softens them and opens them to the Therapeutic Touch. And thank you, Natasha. Yes, you're absolutely right.
So if you have somebody who's interested in learning about Therapeutic Touch, how are the programs set up, and what can people expect when they start learning Therapeutic Touch?
Well, the programs are set up. We have two levels of courses. If you want to take simple how-tos, and if that's your focus, we have community level courses set up. We're working to have many more people teach those courses, because you don't need to be a teacher. If you are a registered practitioner or have had many years of experience and understand how to explain, those community level courses are an intro to the basic Therapeutic Touch. The courses that you spoke about, the enhanced courses, are the ones that take you in to understanding the double journey. Because when we do Therapeutic Touch or any other healing modality, we change And in Therapeutic Touch, one of the most incredible things for me is that internal journey that Therapeutic Touch helps you to mark. You begin to understand what changes are happening in you emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And that self-understanding allows you, encourages you, shifts you into being a better healer because you are more responsive to your healing partners or clients at that time. So the enhanced course has a double journey. It helps you to improve your therapeutic touch and understand it at a deeper level, but also understand, focus on you as the caregiver and how we heal ourselves through therapeutic touch and doing therapeutic touch.
So if you have a CanBeWell member, how could they benefit from adding therapeutic touch concepts and activities to their current training and experience?
I think by adding the awareness of the self, the inner self, it would be really helpful for people because that inner self, that part of us that becomes that is intuitive, becomes alive. So by teaching and every single session to center yourself, connect with that inner self, ground yourself, create the compassion, no matter what modality you're practicing. It enhances your ability, our ability to interact with your client in a way that enhances that connection you were talking about, Natasha, that being cared for connection. Yeah. And enhance your intuitive ability.
What I found interesting was when I took my first levels that the awareness of the connection to others, the energetic awareness, not the hearing or the seeing, but the energetic awareness of what's going on in the other person, made me more considerate on what I was doing and how I was reacting, how I was doing things, because I had an inkling of what's going on in the other one, right? And that has become stronger over the years. So being a part of Therapeutic Touch since 2009, it's become a part, has become a part of my life in every aspect. And that's exactly not even consciously. It's just you look back on situations, what you've done and how you've reacted and whatever, and it just comes back. Oh yeah, that's therapeutic touch, right?
And yeah, I mean that's that inner growth that you're talking about. As you have grown, your abilities have grown, and it is lovely to have that recognition, Natasha, because you did. I remember watching you develop, and it was a lovely journey.
Changing from giving to offering was a big one.
I know. Do you know how many people, Natasha? Do you know how often we bring that up and use it?
Every time.
Yeah, it's taught with every single class.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about the meditations that Therapeutic Touch International offers every Friday? Is that something that CanBeWell members could be part of? Like, do you have to be a Therapeutic Touch member, or can anybody take part in? Or
in fact, I think they have a limit of 100, but we don't always have 100 people, and they would be welcome. They have to pre-register through the Therapeutic Touch International. I think we could do it through the website. If not, I can provide you with the newsletter that would provide people with the ability to register. Dora Kunz was the mystic in the partnership between Dolores Krieger and Dora Kunz. And Dora could see she understood from a very small child about energy, and she was from a line of mystics. Her mother was the same. She could see the field and understand what was happening in the field in such intimate detail. And when she wanted to, she could shut it off. But that's what helped to develop Therapeutic Touch with Dolores Krieger, who was the nurse. So Dora Kunz developed a meditation. And she understood that we're all one. We're part of nature. We're one with everyone else in the universe. And so her meditation is designed on that. And every Friday at would be 12 o'clock Atlantic time, that meditation is held and someone leads the meditation, the same one, but with personal flair differences, for peace. When you have peace with one person, that spreads. It helps to heal others and the world. If you are peaceful, you bring health. You are health. If you are peaceful, that means that you have the ability to be compassionate for others. So the state of peace opens us to that which we want in the world. And that's what meditation is for, is to bring personal peace, which it does because there's a large group. And it takes you down into the centering and into the meditation very, very deeply. So it calms you in ways that often as a person singly, I cannot get into. And it creates a thought form that grows in the world, right? And
So
has more and more influence.
it ties into the intention work from the McTaggart, basically.
Oh, it ties into that without saying the word intention. It
Yes.
is that. It's
Yeah.
not tying it. It is that, right?
Yeah. Is there a theme or focus that you're bringing forward in 2024?
2024 is we're working on consciousness and therapeutic touch, the interplay, right? And so we had our first large event that was sponsored by the international organization and the Canadian organization, and it was truly done mostly by ATTN that put that forward. And then for 2025, we are discussing the consciousness. Are you okay?
I have a cat who just pulled the cable. So
Okay. Who is discussing we're looking at consciousness and compassion. Because we truly are in an existential crisis in our world, where compassion is, I would like to see it practiced much, much more. I'd like to see it understood. And so that's what we're aiming for is consciousness and compassion, the interplay, what that does to us and what it spreads to the world. Because we are constructs of our consciousness. And if we can shape consciousness into compassion, we shape ourselves and shape more in that transpersonal interactions we have. Just like you talked about, Natasha, at the beginning, about being with your TT partners.
is there anything that you would like to share to our membership, to CanBeWell membership, to give them a taste of what you do? Other than, we could go on to the second part of the grounding.
That's
or
exactly
something else.
what I'm getting myself ready for. All right. So I want you to go back. We're going to do the therapeutic touch, beginnings of inner journey, awareness, and outer doing. So we're going to connect the two. And this is very simple. Most of you have probably, in fact, all of you present have done this before. So I would like you to go in and do that scan and rate yourself from 1 to 10, physically, and let's say emotionally. Give yourself a number. 1, you're just absolutely perfect, honey. You couldn't be better. 10, you're ready to scream and holler and jump up and down. You have so much tension. Where are you on the scale, physically and emotionally? And now we're going to do the energy ball, sensing our own energy. So please take your hands and place them, I don't know, about a foot apart. And you notice my fingers are all relaxed. My hands are cupped. And I want you to put your mind right between your palms, P-L-A-N-S, right between your palms. And as you do, what do you sense in the palms of your hand? And now, slowly and gently, bring your palms apart. And then bring them together. And as you do, what is it you sense there? How does the energy that is collecting in your body, how does it feel? What are you sensing? Describe what is between your palms and gently take them together and find a place where you're going to stop, where the energy says, don't come any closer. And now take them apart one more time, concentrating, focusing on your ball. And what's happening? Oh, Michelle's relaxing here. What's happening is you concentrate on the energy and you take your hands apart. And now what's happening is you slowly bring them together to where they're comfortable. Natasha's are like a big pond wide. Her ball.
Going out. Mine
know.
don't want to come together. They just want to expand. With every breath I take, they go farther out.
All right. So give a couple words to describe your ball, besides expanding with every breath you take, Natasha.
Well, having done the exercise quite often, mine is, as always, a galaxy. I'm holding a galaxy in my hands, and I was actually part of another galaxy this time. So I tried to expand, but mine doesn't. I tried to compress mine, and it didn't want. It just wants to go out, and be part of the rest.
Of the universes.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the sense that you have in that?
Peace and calm.
Peace?
Peace and calm and expansion, actually. Even the lungs and everything, like the breath becomes deeper. It's not just chest, it goes into the belly automatically without me having to focus it there. And at the same time, like all muscles go like mush.
All right. I love it. Okay. I don't think I've ever had anyone say mush before.
It's a German.
And Michelle.
So there was a bit of tension kind of in my thumb. So I believe that's kind of like the temple is kind of the sensation I was getting. So I've been trying to just kind of, I did out and in, which helped because further out was less intense. But now I'm just kind of massaging around a little bit to see if I can just let it go, which then was like just deep sleep, just like let me go lie down and have a good nap now. So yeah, it seems to have lightened up, but it's still there. There's still a little bit holding on.
Okay. And so, thank you, Heather.
Very recognizable boundaries, but yet it was the sensation of the canopy of the trees, like the top of the trees expanding with the breath, a little bit of the wind in and out, but I could definitely very firmly still feel it in my palms. But it's that kind of expansion and contraction of canopy as it moves and grows.
So now what we're working with here is for advanced energy workers who are very used to sensing energy between their palms or from their palms. Many people in the first class would say, well, I don't know, it feels kind of, I can't put my hands together. Or they would say, I can't, oh, when I pull them apart, they don't want to come. Or they would say, it's hot, or it's pulsing. Now, that's at the beginning. What all three of these people would have said variations on that. And look at where their inside journey and working with energy has taken to them. It's all taken them into a place of peace. It's all taken them into a journey of much more awareness of their energetic abilities in the world. So now I want you to put your attention into your feet. How do your feet feel?
Very connected.
Connected to your
The
ankles
earth.
or the
No,
earth?
the earth
Okay.
like really, really sturdy on the ground, connected through all points of the foot. So if you leave an imprint, it's not just the side or the heel or the toes, it's the whole foot is gonna be there.
Good. Michelle.
I had to move my arms apart, but all the joints cracked. So the elbows, the shoulder, the wrists. So as I was moving, there was expansion and letting go of tension within the joints. I know that's not my feet,
Love
but that's what happened.
I know, that was where I was going to take you back to. But still,
My feet were there, they're connected, but everything else was not lining up. Yeah.
All right. So hold those two thoughts because this is perfect to where we're going. Heather. What do you sense in your feet?
Like big roots. Left is more connected than the right now, but they feel like they're wide and spread. I think of hobbit feet. Is kind of the impression I was getting. Big and wide.
Hairy, stubby toes.
Yeah.
So what you see here is that by playing with our ball, the energy, it has increased the flow throughout our whole being. And these three people are aware of that. It hasn't just increased, given us the ability to perceive what's in our hands in a much more conscious way, but we can perceive internally the flow of energy and how and what it has done to us, because that flow does to us as well as with us. We're inducing that flow. All right, let's change that a tiny bit, the sense of it. So as you bring your hands back again, we're going to take you into one more small aspect. I want you to begin to think of, so pay attention and give a very quick word about what you sense between your hands. And this time I want you to sense more directly on the quality that's immediate between your hands. All right, the whole quality of immediacy. So right now I would say that my ball is spinning very quickly, left to right, and it has a center that is probably an expanding, gently, beautifully purple around the edges with blue interior. So it's like this ball, and inside that ball is that. And then I want you to think of someone that you love. It's like someone, it can be a grandchild, it can be a mate, it can be someone that you clearly adore, and that when you see them bring joy to your eyes and heart. And now sense the energy that is between your hands. And what has happened to it? All right, Michelle.
Okay, this is going to sound really funny. So it started out, if you take a lollipop, a round lollipop that has that gooey center, it was the purple of that lollipop. And then when I put someone into the center, it went to pink. It was like bubble gum. But there was a difference between that outer shell to a soft lightness and opportunity to interact and play, which you can't really do with the lollipop. It's too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. You can lick it, girl.
Well, you could.
Soften it up.
But it's going to take a long time. You know, bubble gum is just like there, you know, you can be there with it. Yeah.
But the softness that you describe, right? Michelle, Natasha, thank you, Michelle.
Interestingly, mine was like a wind in swirling in a figure-8 pattern, or like the waves like I have in the photo behind me, but in a very like hard to describe, because it's not that it really was crossing in the middle, but it looked like a figure-8 pattern by the way it presented itself. And then putting somebody in there, it actually doubled up the waves. So
Cool.
instead of having one wave, I had two that then accumulated and became faster.
And so how did you describe that energetically, the feeling of it? Was it strong? Was it vigorous?
In the beginning, it was a gentle cold wind. The color of it was like a mist. And then it became faster, like going on a roller coaster ride. So that wind.
Okay, and that brought joy to you, right?
It was fun.
It brought joy to Michelle too. That whole sense of caring, right?
It was like the both together, like their energy, my energy comes together and enhances each other. That was the picture and the feel of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I should probably talk in sound waves, because that was what it looked like when you resonance, and the resonance brings the waves higher and higher and higher. Right?
Yes, they're entrained, right? As you offer that to another person, your waves actually entrain and amplify. And it's not the strength, it's the softness, the gentleness of those. And that's what Therapeutic Touch works on. Heather, we didn't get to you. So let's get to you.
Mine turned into big fluffy clouds, but strong. They were big, supportive pinks and greens, like a sunset or a sunrise, but just nice, big, fluffy, soft, but yet firm to support.
Lovely, absolutely lovely. The support, I like that word, support. So now, how has that affected your energy, the perception of your energy in your body? How has that changed that?
I just felt more relaxed and comforted in it. Like it was just, a glowing kind of feeling, because I was thinking of my grandchildren. So it was that loving connection that kind of grew.
And it goes through your body, your being. Michelle, how did that affect your being?
Well, I had a bunch of yawning there where I thought, I could really go for a nap, but now I'm completely re-energized. So whatever needed to let go disappeared, and it's much clearer, and the feeling that I had for the temples is gone. So
And Natasha, how has it affected you?
More present, but at the same time very calm.
Mhm. So that's one of the things that therapeutic touch leads us into, is because if we go into a therapeutic touch or any energetic healing and we're not centered, we're anxious, or we're carrying anger or sorrow, you can see how that affects the flow in your body. And you can see how that affects how it could affect the other person. So that awareness is one of the things therapeutic touch works with. And that's one of the reasons why the centering, grounding, and the compassion, offering of compassion, are so critical, because they bring our flow into harmony, into a flow that's balanced, much more balanced, which is beneficial to us. I mean, the nurses who first learned therapeutic touch, they said, I don't feel burnout anymore. I feel energized. I'm happier in my job, because every time I center and ground and offer compassion, I become more and more of that for myself. So this is not only self-care doing this, but it's self-healing doing this. So the very fundamentals of therapeutic touch are self-care, as we are focused on the other for their healing journey. It's not like we're applying the self-care consciously for ourselves. It is a byproduct of what we do. As we focus with our heartfelt, loving kindness on the other person, it brings them into that orb of gentleness, of kindness, of balanced harmonic flow, and helps simply by being in that flow for us to assist each other. And then when you consciously start, you can begin to amplify our perceptions and our ability to be in the dance, because with all of our modalities, we're reading what's happening with the other person in different ways. And as we read that, we understand where the blockages are, where perhaps things need to be softened or amplified, changed in some way. And we can offer that consciously to the other person, which then gives them the opportunity to change, to join you in that dance, which creates balance and healing for both.
What I love about therapeutic touch, and from the teachings that one of the biggest parts that I took out of the teachings for my life, was the gentleness in doing the best you can for the other person, and then stepping away and not forcing you on the other one, but giving them the space that they can do what they need to do to heal. And we're just here to help along the way, and maybe clear the room for them, but otherwise they have to go themselves, right? And the gentleness in that, in that offering and in that doing the best you can, is a very forgiving way for yourself not to be perfect. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect as per a rule or a book. It has to be perfect as you can do.
Exactly, Natasha. Your job is to show up And as
Yeah.
you said, do the best job you can do. And it's their job to heal. The more I understand about healing, the more I know that all healing is self-healing. Dora always said, the outcome of nothing is in our hands.
Mhm.
And that's right. Our job is to mind the store when nobody's looking, do our very best all the time, and let go of the outcome because we don't control it.
No.
The only thing we control is our ability to create the environment for healing to possibly take place. And that's an even deeper discussion when we get into the word of destiny, because destiny doesn't mean, oh, this is going to happen to you for sure. It only means I was born into a specific family at a specific time, era, with specific beliefs in the family that we absorb into the very bones of us. We have a religious background or a spiritual background or not. And the attitudes of the people around us in that culture, the general zeitgeist, all help to form who we are. And it's only when we can see beyond those and understand what stops us from healing. Because, oh, my grandmother had a bad knee. My mom had a bad knee. I just know I'm going to have a bad knee too. Gets ingrained in people so easily. And our job is really to heal ourselves out of some of those beliefs and restrictions we have.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of that, Natasha.
So I think we caught up on a lot of things. Is there anything that we missed?
No, not on a discussion today.